and welcome back to Gothic Homemaking. As you may know, this is season 5, where there's a special focus on kitchen and bathroom DIYs. Now I will tell you, I've got some very boring and ugly mirrors in my bathroom, and today's project is to see if we can't transform them into something classically and elegantly macabre. What? I'm elegantly macabre. Pay him no mind. Let's get started. As you can see here, I have 2 cheap medicine cabinets on either side and 1 framed mirror there in the middle. I had what I thought was a really brilliant idea that I could vastly improve these medicine cabinets by getting an ornate frame to put around them. Granted, they're absolutely disgusting inside from disuse, but I think we can fix that with some scrubbing and paint. The important thing was to take the measurement of the mirrors so I knew what size frames to buy. And that's when I discovered that both cabinets were irregular sizes, and my so-called brilliant idea went up in flames. As much as I really wanted to renovate these old cabinets, they cost $20 each. However, in order to create a custom frame in an irregular size, it would have been over $100 for each one of them. It just doesn't make sense to do. So instead, I decided to see if I could find a medicine cabinet that came in a standard frame size. My first stop was Home Depot. They definitely had lots of lovely medicine cabinets, but none of them were standard frame sizes. Next I tried Ace Hardware, and there I did find a medicine cabinet that was 20 inches by 16 inches, which is a standard size. I got it home and it's certainly very satisfying to see how clean it is inside. I measured it just to be sure, and it was, it's actually 20 1/4 inches by 16 1/4 inches. Is a 20 by 16 frame even gonna fit on here? Well, I proceeded with my plan anyway, and I searched for a 20 by 16 open backed frame. And eventually I ended up on the Etsy page of Luv Belle Arts, where I found this beauty. So I ordered one in 20 by 16 with no glass. A few days later the frame arrived and it's absolutely stunning. I really love it, though I did find it to be very heavy, which made me very nervous. But one thing at a time. First, let's see if it'll fit. Now the opening is bound to be 20 by 16, but the inside of the hole was 20 1/4 by 16 1/4. I lucked out. I placed the medicine cabinet into the frame, and it was a perfect fit. And it looks absolutely phantasmagorical. Now that I knew the frame would fit, I removed it from the medicine cabinet so that I could decorate it appropriately. I'm going to surprise you with what I'm going to do with this frame. Quite the contrary. I love this frame so much as is that I'm going to do precious little to it. Remember those brass stampings I bought for my steam pipe DIY a while back? Well, as it happens, I have a couple of them left over, and I'm going to use them to make this frame just a touch spookier. To attach the stampings to the frame, I mixed up some plumber's epoxy, filled the back of the skull, and pressed it onto the frame. Ooh, I love the look of that. And then I did the same with the bat. And now I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to surprise you again, because I took it outside and I painted it white with Krylon white lacquer spray paint. And now the little brass stampings are just a wonderfully subtle nod to the rest of the bathroom design. Finally, I returned the frame to the medicine cabinet. I didn't want to glue it in place as I thought that might be messy, so I decided to secure the frame in place with some metal mending plates. And now it's ready to hang. And here's where disaster struck. As I mentioned, when I first got the frame, it seemed very heavy to me, and I feared that it would be too heavy for these flimsy medicine cabinets. Unfortunately, I was right. When I attached this to the wall, the door wouldn't close because the door was so heavy, and I feared it would fall off entirely at some point. Sadly, I don't have any footage of that because I was too busy not having a medicine cabinet fall on my head for me to be filming it. Pity that I don't have footage, or pity that... You know what? Never mind. Rather than get discouraged and scrap the entire project, I simply decided to jettison the cabinet portion and keep the mirror part. To make things more complicated, the hinges weren't attached with screws, they were held on with rivets that I had to pry off. Removing the cabinet portion, I reattached the frame to the mirror with the mending plates and added a hanging mechanism. And now this is what it looks like hanging in the bathroom. Isn't that lovely? Next, I moved on to the gold-framed mirror. For starters, I removed the backing and the mirror from the frame. And now we can focus on making this frame wonderfully spooky. I'll be using a technique I've used before on the show, and for that, I'll need animal bones. I got these at the Chicago Oddities and Curiosities Market from Gypsy River Witch. They collect them from the woods around their property. You can see more of that in my Oddities Markets video. I first took inventory of my bones so I knew what I had to work with, and then I began laying them out on the frame. I think it's important to get your whole design in place before you start gluing to ensure good composition. For the centerpiece, I used a small animal skull that I bought years ago. And now I was ready to glue. With my hot glue gun, I glued the bones one by one onto the frame. For very, very thin bones like this one, where hot glue would be too messy, I used a super glue like Zap-A-Gap. Now here's my finished mirror with all of the bones. This is a beautiful look, a gold mirror with natural colored bones, and if that works for your color scheme, you can leave it just the way it is. But I'm going for a classic black and white look in the bathroom, so I'm going to take this outside and paint it appropriately. And I took it outside and No, actually, I painted this one white as well. And here's my bone frame painted with Krylon white lacquer spray paint. All that's left to do is reinsert the mirror, secure it in place, and hang it on the wall. But first, as always, I'll be providing you with a vegan option for those of our friends who do not wish to decorate with real human bones, and I'll be demonstrating with this little frame. Around Halloween, I pick up whatever decent looking plastic bones I can find exactly for this purpose. These were from Spirit Halloween, and these were from a 99-cent store. Once again, I laid my bones out to create my design, and when I was happy with it, I began gluing them in place. And in time, I had this spooky little vegan option. Now, I'm not going to paint that one just yet because I have big plans for that one in an upcoming episode. For the time being, let's go see what both mirrors look like hung up on the wall of the bathroom. What do you say? Should we do a little before and after? Right. Well, anyway, here's before. Here's after. I would say that's probably an improvement. But to be honest, I'm not really loving the bone mirror in white for some reason. So, I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to... Care to guess, Orville? I'm going to paint it black. And here it is painted with black lacquer spray paint. The porous parts of the bones don't take the paint that well, they just kind of absorb it. But I had great success painting those parts in with black nail polish. And here it is hanging in the bathroom along with the other mirror. I like that much better. In today's episode of Gothic Homemaking, I set out to transform 2 medicine cabinets and 1 mirror, and I ended up with 2 mirrors and no medicine cabinets. Along the way, hopefully you picked up some great new techniques for making your lair more elegantly spooky. But most importantly, I hope you learned that it's okay to fail. It's okay for your project to not turn out quite right, to have to repaint it, or to let it become something else entirely. Mistakes are not the enemy. They are how we grow and how we learn to be better at the things that we love doing. This little setback just means that now I have to come up with a killer design for a new Aurelio Voltaire medicine cabinet, which hopefully you'll see right here in an upcoming episode of Gothic Homemaking. Thanks for watching.